21st century learning was defined by Elizabeth Rich as certain core competencies such as collaboration, digital literacy, critical thinking, and problem solving that advocates believe schools need to teach to help students thrive in today's world. Now, there's a lot of different components that go along with it, and a lot that are not fully agreed upon. I'm going to talk about 3: critical thinking, collaboration, and creativity that I found to be commonly agreed upon, and ones that many believe will help our students to thrive in the future. First, I'm going to talk about critical thinking. This was defined in an article on EdVoice as engaging students to use multiple strategies when solving a problem, to consider different points of view, and to explore with many modalities. Again, the goal is to set them up to thrive in the future. Jobs that they are going to get in the future are likely going to require them to be able to think differently and to solve problems. One way that we can encourage this in our classroom is through inquiry-based learning. Inquiry-based learning is encouraging learners to be in charge of their own learning. So having them pose questions about things they're curious about is one way that you can do this. The way that I use it in my classroom most of the time for now is in math. So with things such as number talks. Basically, I pose a problem and I don't really give them much guidance on how to solve it. They have the content knowledge to do it, but I want them to see and realize on their own that there are lots of different ways to get the answer. And it's important that I allow them to figure that out because it's developing those skills that I'm talking about, such as critical thinking and problem solving. I would, however, like to broaden this to more subjects and find ways to encourage my students to be in charge of their own learning in other areas besides just math. And it's definitely something I would need to reach out to other people in my network to get more ideas about. Collaboration is the next component that I want to discuss. Whenever I look this up, a lot of the articles often discuss collaboration as working right alongside critical thinking. This is something that makes a lot of sense to me when you look at the definition that they give. Learning in collaboration is an educational approach to teaching and learning that involves groups of learners working together to solve a problem, complete a task, or create a product. It makes sense that they will need to think deeply and problem solve when they are doing this type of work. Collaboration is something I try to use in all of the different subjects that I teach. I always want my learners talking to each other. They can learn so much from each other, and it's important that I give them that opportunity. For example, when I do reading groups, I have them read on their own at their own levels, but I make sure that they have a group of people also reading that same book that they can talk about their noticings, they can talk about their wonderings, and they can make predictions for what's to come. One, it just makes it fun because they love to talk, especially in 3rd grade, which is what I teach. And 2, it gives them the chance to learn from others. Collaboration goes right alongside with critical thinking, as I stated before, so encouraging it can really develop their learning. When I think about collaboration in the classroom, I'm always careful to think about TPAC, or technological pedagogical content knowledge, specifically content knowledge. I think about what my students already know, not just as a whole, but individually, and I use that to pair them up to make sure that when they are collaborating, they're both or all in the group benefiting from what the other is saying and learning from it. I also want to push myself to use more technology when it comes to collaboration. I would love to reach out to more people in my own learning network to see how they may do this. I know I've heard of some ways such as blogging and having students comment on these types of blogging, which would incorporate all 3 aspects, including creativity, which is what I'm going to talk about next. So that's definitely something I'm going to consider. Creativity is the last component I'm going to talk about, and it's one that I feel is very important to discuss, as I found many articles supported the idea that creativity is often lost in the classroom now as students are looking for the quote-unquote right answer. So it's important we learn to teach this skill through brainstorming, encouraging new perspectives, or even just giving students more free choice in the classroom, and it's definitely a skill that I'm going to try to include more in my own classroom. Creativity is one that I'm really going to push myself for next year. I do simple things such as giving them more choice in the classroom, which is encouraging creativity. However, I learned about morning bins through my professional learning network, social media, as well as just other teachers in my building, and I'm really excited to try it. It is going to encourage so many components of 21st century learning, especially the three that I talked about today, where they can be creative and just create and play with things such as Legos or magnetic blocks. They can collaborate by working with each other, and they can create their own problems and come up with their own issues that they need to think about critically and solve. And it also just gets them ready for the day. And although it does go away from the idea of technology, it's something I'm okay with because I feel that technology is so heavily involved in their lives outside of school that sometimes just playing with hands-on things is actually very beneficial.